too long. Plus the museum's got a reception tonight too.
Oh,
So,
do they?
Yeah.
Who does?
the museum tonight.
Or local artists.
Yeah, local artists. So it's something I want to attend. So we're gonna get out of here about 7, maybe a little after if we can. Let's start, guys, real quick before we get into appropriations with what we had left on the departments from Monday night. Mayor, did you get the question about the vacation pay answered?
Yes,
Okay.
we talked about that, and
'Cause I think that
Trish can probably explain it better than me, but it's actually, the vacation pay is put in there, and then as they take it, it goes over to that. Trish, help me.
Okay, the council several years ago allowed employees with 3 weeks or more to sell a week back to the city.
Yeah,
And until the point in time, the only thing that's budgeted is that extra week for those people who have taken it within the last 3 years consistently. In other words, if I have been paid for a week's vacation in lieu of the time off consistently for the last 3 years, then that extra week is budgeted to me for my department. However, when employees actually use vacation, then it is charged against that expense. To begin with, it's all in the regular pay. And as employees take it, then it shows up so that you have a dollar amount of that value.
and that's all vacation that she's talking about now, that's all
Every
vacation.
vacation.
I
Yes.
got you.
Not just
Every
the
sick
ones that
day.
you can sell
So
back.
when you add those expenditures, when you add, I don't have my budget
So,
sheet
well,
right
yeah,
here.
if you add,
When
all right,
those
like
numbers,
the fire department, if you add
it should come back.
54,000 and the 56,000, and the 801, it should come up to the 955,000. That's on page 10 of 20.
Or close to it.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is that you guys have got a handle on that.
Yes.
That's, okay.
Yeah, that's
All right.
not a misprint or anything. That's-
Okay, so we don't need to budget like, well, you're on 10 of 20, so the fire department, for instance, we don't need to budget $54,000 for
No,
vacation pay.
no, that's budgeted in the regular pay.
Okay.
So
Good deal.
yeah.
All right, everybody got that? So basically, you need to add all those numbers together to get the true.
Right. Yeah.
That's
you need to
part
add
of the salary.
vacation pay, the sick pay, and the
That's
regular
what
pay,
I'm
and then you'll come up with a 2014 fiscal year or budget. So,
Okay.
or in this case, the 2015. So.
Okay. All right. So we got that. So we can cross that off. Any questions about that vacation pay? I knew that was a biggie the other night. Okay. The Civil Service Board Act that we talked about the other night has been updated. There has been an amendment to that act to allow them to be paid $100 per meeting, meetings uncapped. So that concern is gone.
Plus the cost of living every time the city employees get a cost of living.
Okay. All right. I was not aware of that. Okay. So something that we might want to look at in the future, not tonight, but something that we might want to look at in the future. Of course, it'll have to go through Montgomery. Is maybe looking at a cap for meetings. You know, a yearly cap or a monthly cap or however we want to do it. So that's something we'll talk about at a later date. All right, the court thing was a big deal the other night as far as salaries are concerned. You know, Judge Vaughn was here, Ken was here Monday night to kind of talk to us a little bit about what they've got in mind. Now, Trish gave us all a compensation worksheet that includes step raises that we just did recently. That will show you the salaries of the people. It's actually salaries of everybody that works for the city, but I guess what we need to do is go through here and highlight or kind of pick out the court employees. So obviously we do what?
It's an alphabetic.
Okay, all right. So obviously Ken Sisk, and then we have Robin Smith, and then we have Amber Johns, right? And Sabrina Hunt, is that right? There's one more. Chrissy King, that's right. And that's it, right? Okay, we got, yeah, that's right. Okay, so what I have handed you, now, Trish, real quick, correct me if I'm wrong, are these, all of the court employees are non-exempt, is that correct? Is that correct? Or
It's just Ken.
Ken is exempt, but Robin's non-exempt?
She is not.
Okay, good deal.
Sabrina Hunt. Is it Sabrina Hunt?
Yeah, that's right, Sabrina Hunt. Y'all got all those guys?
Amber Johns.
I got
Chrissy King,
Amber John, Sabrina Hunt,
Robin Smith,
Robin Smith, that's it. That's the one I couldn't remember.
You got it? I'm doing some math real quick, guys. Y'all just bear with me.
here's just a minute. I didn't bring anything, so.
What is the highest level in a AO7, 4, and
I didn't bring the pay grades. I can
Pay
bring
grade.
that. I mean, I can get it if you need it.
there's no need, I was just,
Do you have a copy of that?
I think the question we had the other night was, why we had the question, re-raising the poor people?
Yeah,
I
that
have
was
the
my
answer.
question.
I have the answer to
Okay.
that.
I can get
It's
it
that
for you. Do you
what
want
they
it?
were
Here, I'll get mine.
looking to do, the newest
I'll get mine.
employee,
I'll get mine,
and
so.
we're not
gonna
looking
make
to
a
have
copy
her
of
job
this.
description changed to add the new duty, just
Okay.
those three.
Just those three,
Who's,
okay.
who's the newest?
Robin.
I don't know which one's which.
Robin's the newest.
Okay, I didn't ask
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
I just asked the question, why three and not the fourth one? And they said that was, that the others, they were gonna look to change the job descriptions.
Right.
Because they were adding some significant new duties.
I hear you. I hear you. Okay, so let me say this, guys. What I handed you all, the sheet of paper that I handed you, that's got several lines from cities. Those are cities that I pulled with a population between 10 and 15,000, with similar demographics to that of Sylacauga. You'll see on the list Alex City, Ozark, Fort Payne, Muscle Shoals, Saraland, Scottsboro, Calera, and Eufaula. I think that's a pretty good sampling. So, with that being said, everything on the left-hand side of the slash is for their department head over their municipal court. Now, some people call it a magistrate, some people call it chief magistrate, some people call it chief court clerk. It's the department head. Everything on the right are the people who work underneath, what we would call our magistrates, okay? So, now, if you'll look real quickly at Muscle Shoals, Saraland, and Scottsboro, they have a department head and an assistant department head. No magistrates. All right, so that's why I have assistant out beside them. If you look at Calera, they don't have a department head in their municipal court. They only have
The
magistrates.
city clerk is the department.
That's right. So, what out of all these numbers that I've got, I went and asked for the pay scale,
I don't have that.
low to high, and the highlighted numbers at the bottom are the average salaries, yearly salaries, and hourly pay for those individuals.
Here.
No,
The whole thing.
the whole thing. This doesn't include hours, okay? So, take that, and that took a little bit of time. So, just, that's, like I said, I felt like that was a pretty good sampling. So just take that however you would like to take it. Those are average salaries, like I said, from cities that I thought not only were similar in population, but similar demographically. So
And there are some others, there's a pretty wide range in here, and one of the reasons for that, I was told, because I asked the specific question, is that different municipal courts operate differently, and the actual duties vary as much as these numbers do.
Right.
From low to high.
Yeah. That's true. So looking at the salaries of our employees versus an average, y'all tell me what you think. I mean,
This 162,000 in this budget for the court, is that the combination of everybody?
yes. That's just everybody's regular pay. That's correct.
That's for 1 year.
Right. They are as you know, they're asking for $27,000. That's a $12,000 increase per year for the department head, and then that is that 3,000? 3,000 for each of the three magistrates, and then,
$3,000 overtime.
well, that'd be more than 27,000.
That's true, it's 12,000 for CISC,
Okay.
3,000 each, maybe four, no. Yeah, 3,000 each for three of the magistrates, which should have been 9,000, and then 3,000.
Oh, that's right, okay, yeah, that's right.
It's
Okay.
actually $4,000 apiece, wasn't it?
4,000.
Wasn't it 4,000 each for the three magistrates? 1,000 being, three being the salary adjustment, and 1,000 for overtime
Yeah.
for each one of them?
That's right, yeah. That's right. Guys, it's something, you know, if we're gonna do some of it or any of it or what, it's something that I think needs to be put in the budget. I mean, y'all might disagree, but I think if we're gonna do any of it, I think we need to put it in the budget. Mayor, you know, being kind of the CEO of the city, what are your concerns?
Well, as I said the other night, my concerns are that we've had other department heads ask for pay increases for their employees. So I think, and I didn't, because of the way the budget shook out, and there's not a lot of money left over in there, so I didn't put any of those requests in there. But I do think if we're gonna consider some, we ought to consider all of them. So, and then like I said the other night, you know, that's gonna put that department head considerable amount over other department heads that's been here for several years. So that's my thinking. And
What's it gonna do to your pay plan?
well, I don't know, that's not included in the pay plan, so
Yeah.
I don't know.
These folks.
Do what now? You lost me.
Well, there's a pay plan that's set up each of these employees.
Yeah, that's right.
And yeah, I agree the court takes in money, but the city, you know, we don't run by money that everybody takes in. The police department, fire department, street department don't take in any money, so, you know, we've got to.
Well, and
No department runs independent from the rest of them, so it's all a part of the city, in my opinion, so.
well, and there was something said about the corrections fund, you know, maybe some employees in the court being paid out of the corrections fund, is that, but, not, it's,
Wasn't the corrections fund, it was there,
I'm talking currently.
We
okay.
have 2 employees that are currently being paid consistently from the corrections
Okay.
fund.
I thought he was talking about something else.
No, not new, but right now as it stands, we've got employees being paid from the corrections fund, but yet, it's my understanding that the corrections fund has to be supplemented by the city.
Yeah.
The corrections fund currently has a deficit balance or a receivable on the books to the city of Sylacauga general fund for $51,000 plus. That means that over the last couple of years, there hasn't been enough money generated by the corrections fund to take care of the obligations that council's committed from it. So you set it up as a receivable, and as the fund generates dollars, then you take them out and offset that receivable. Now, there's a CD on the books that's about $48,000, and we have not cashed that CD. We've typically not cashed any of our investments if we didn't have to. You know, but it still leaves a deficit until council does something to correct the prior council's action as far as use of that corrections fund for those 2 salaries, then I don't have any choice but to continue booking that receivable.
Now, at the same time, the changes that we recently made should make a significant difference in the corrections fund with the collections from the, taking JCS out of the picture. The projections that y'all came up with were significantly higher than what the reality was by well over $100,000, so they should make that up. But at the same time, the overall budget, even with that, their overall budget was cut significantly. And one of the things that they were talking about doing was there's a certain fund that was set up by the state that was added to the fine system.
Now, can I say?
Let me finish
All
this
right.
one, is that is a discretionary fund for the clerk and the judge. And taking money from that fund to fund part of that request that they had. And asking in-depth questions basically was, what they were looking to do is to take the total appropriation from 318,805 for this year back to what it was last year. And the rest of the 27,000 come from that administrative fund. That was the request that they made, with the idea of changing the job descriptions and setting them up in the pay system at different, because they're adding significant
Yeah,
new
I hear you.
duties.
Yeah. Now.
Not a raise for doing what they've already been doing.
Right. But now,
Which is why 3 of them were suggested for that, and the 4th one wasn't, because she won't be taking on that
yeah,
job description.
I hear you.
Okay?
As far as the budget being cut significantly, I guess you're talking about that 16,396 number at the bottom? Is that what you're talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, 12,000 of that came at their request.
Yeah, that was, the budget is
Oh,
almost
I understand.
exactly like he brought it up there and presented it when we asked for the budgets to be presented, so.
And I'm not sure where he put the numbers for that 27,000 that the judge asked for.
Oh, that,
In what he handed you in the first place. Did that come after his original thing, or was that a part of what he originally brought to you, that extra $27,000?
No, he brought that was separate,
That's,
you know,
that was brought as a request
yeah.
and not part of his budget.
Mhm.
Okay, so, I mean,
Well,
Y'all totaled that up yesterday?
we need to,
That's not it.
What was the planned disbursement on that $2,700
I
again?
thought you wrote that
27,000.
down.
12 to Ken,
She wrote it down. She
For
wrote
what,
it
for
down for
what?
you.
and, well, 3,000 to each of the magistrates as far as salary goes. And then they requested 1,000 apiece, 3 more thousand for overtime. You follow me? Okay.
Which makes it 4,000.
If they work overtime.
Right, well, that's, you know, that's, I think that's what they're predicting.
Yeah.
I think you wrote that down wrong. 12 for Ken,
Yeah.
3 for each.
It's
Okay.
24,
That's 20.
And then,
and 3 more is 27.
and then 3 more thousand.
3 in overtime.
Yeah.
That's 24,000.
So he will be making 59,000.
Yeah.
That's 24.
Still go down, that's
You sure it wasn't
It's,
12?
you're right,
4,
it's 4 per employee and then an extra 1,000 for overtime. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's my bad. 3 for overtime, 4 for each additional employee. For a total of 27. Sorry.
And have taken roughly 11 or 12 out of that administrative fund, which is not reflected in the revenues. And use that for the, excuse me, for the other. Which would essentially reduce that to 15.
It's the new overtime projected based on the new job
You got
description.
that in there somewhere.
I got the same sheets.
Didn't you write it on the back of one of them?
What if
You
it
had
was
your
just
numbers.
I thought you was writing, you had a notebook when you were writing it.
with 3 employees and nothing?
Yeah, you had that,
no
script,
overtime.
you had that pad. I thought you
I
was,
don't think I
Run that by
wrote
me
anything
again.
down. I was writing on
Just
these,
included
but I
the
didn't.
4,000 for the 3 magistrates.
And let me ask this too, real quick. And I'm not gonna call any names, guys. I mean, we're on TV here. There is one magistrate who is paid more than the other 2. Is that a years of service thing? Is that, I mean, I'm not saying there's anything wrong. I don't have a problem with it. I'm just asking
They have no time.
why.
I
Why?
think so. I don't know that.
If you look at that sheet I gave you, the minutes,
With the increase.
the one at the top.
Yeah,
It's a pay grade.
Yeah, I understand that. And I know that it was a request from the department head, but,
Yeah, and I do know that, Robin is not just a magistrate.
yeah, she's an assistant.
She's an assistant.
Yeah, but I'm talking
Therefore,
about
Right,
of the other 3.
but I think that, oh, okay,
Yeah,
and then there's not that much difference between them,
but 2 of them are identical, and one is
a little bit.
a little bit more.
I think Amber has been there a little longer.
Okay.
I don't know that for a fact, but I believe so.
She has been there longer than the rest. Her hire date, she was there when, the original court was there. And you see that the action on that other one failed, but that still kind of tells you part of the story there. When magistrates are hired, they do not have to come in the door with their court certifications, but they're required to get those certifications within a certain period of time by AOC in order for them to be a magistrate, or
Gotcha.
to continue being a magistrate. So they come in the door at a specific pay grade, not step, but pay grade. Once they get that certification, they're reclassified to their final pay grade. In other words, they move up a grade say they're a 7, they move up to an 8, and that's where they settle and they stay, and then they progress through the steps. But, that's the only department where that happens. The police department does something similar in that they can start somebody, if they're certified and they have some of their things. Well, all of the departments have the ability, but the court office is the only one where they come in the door at one pay grade. They get certified and then they go to another pay grade.
Police department doesn't?
They don't change grades.
Okay.
They don't change grades.
Well, like I said, there are a lot of factors that go into the little workup that I did. I mean, there are a lot of factors. I mean, you know, I don't know how long these people have in. I don't know. But I just wanted to give us something.
Or what the duties, it's hard to.
That's right. But I just
There's a lot of apples and oranges in,
There are.
in the
But
basket.
that gives us I think a pretty good sampling, a pretty good idea of where we stand as compared to other cities.
If you look at most departments, see, she's a 5. The person that you're talking about is
Right.
a 5. The other 2 were hired virtually at the same time. They're still 2s. And depending on when she was hired and where she was in the process, just like with police officers, just like with firefighters, just like with street department, concrete workers, or whatever they may be, where you have more than one employee in a specific grade, you know, where there are multiple of the same employees. You're gonna have them at different steps within that grade, and depending on when they got their last raise, you know, some employees are still on every 3 years. Some employees have moved to every 2 years to be considered for a raise, and depending on where that is, that 3-year person may get leapfrogged by a 2-year person. I mean, a 2-year person may get leapfrogged by a 3-year person, just depending on where they were hired in that process. But that's what that is, because they're all in the same pay grade, but she has more years of service, and depending on where she is in that process, when she was hired or when they were hired, she's a 5, they're a 2. But at some point in time, they may catch up with her.
Yeah.
May even pass her. Probably not with that big a span, but in most cases, that happens. You know, if you look at the police department, you know, you can see people in different grades depending on what their PS1s or patrols. And you see people with different steps in that classification. You've got some that are 6, some that are 1, 2, some that are 1s, depending on where they fall.
So the question is, do you want to keep it the same? I think we should. As you say, they can, in a couple of years, if so, they can end up passing her, right?
Well,
Or
probably
passing-
won't. They probably
Yeah,
won't.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
She's every 2 years now.
Mm-hmm.
No, she's every 3 years now, excuse me. It's 2 years, you're eligible for a raise every 2 years for the first 10 years you're here, and then you fall to every 2 years. So I said it backwards.
3 years.
You fall to every 3 years after that. So when somebody's in that 10-year period, they're getting a raise every other year. And if somebody has fallen out of that 10-year period, then they've moved 3 years, so there's the potential for them.
That's something at some point in time we're probably gonna have to revisit all along the way, because there's a lot of grumbling from one end of the building to the other, depending
There
on
is.
which end of that scale you work on, and it makes, I understand why they did it in the first place, but it does, over a period of time, create some
It was done
inequities.
when, at the end of the catch-up period, it was a way to max out the pay scale within the 25 years that you could
Right.
retire. That's gone away with the changes in retirement, so you don't have a 25-year max out, you have an age max out now. And we didn't realize that that would happen. The theory was that if you give somebody If you load them up on the front end with investment in the business, investment in the
Right.
city, then they're not likely to go somewhere else.
Right, I understand.
So that was the reason it was. You load them up in the first 10 years, and then after that, you've kind of got them. They're vested after 10 years, so they've got too big of an investment with the city to leave to go to another department. It was primarily to keep your public safety folks, but your skilled labor in the street department as well. And we didn't realize that it didn't really start showing up until the fire department got to look at it. And they just so happened that they had someone who plotted out his raises over a period of time because he was considering going somewhere else. And in plotting it out, and then somebody says, well, I make the same thing you do. So he plotted his out, and because of where they were, this person
They was gonna
moved
get
ahead
ahead
of
of
the person that had been here
Less
a long
seniority
time.
is moving ahead.
Right. And the guy with more seniority never caught up. After they plotted it out, there was a point where they kind of leapfrogged for a year or two. But then he pulled ahead, and he never caught, the senior guy never caught back up. So it was brought to the city's attention, and it has been discussed several times, but a solution has not been
The
reached yet.
solution would be to go back to a across the board raise without step raises, wouldn't it?
It would be the solution in my mind would be to either offer the raises every 2 years or
Yeah.
every 3 years,
Yeah.
instead of a mixture.
Flip-flop, yeah.
You know, you
And
have
I
a,
say split the difference and do it 2.5, that's what I wanna do.
well, if you do it
Split
two
the
and a
difference,
half,
do
then
what?
I say do it every 2.5 years, and that way it wouldn't hurt anybody, it wouldn't cost the city that much money to go to 2.5 instead of everybody 3 or everybody 2.
well, see, at that time, when all that was put in place, the span between the steps was approximately 5%. Now your span between steps is an average of around 3%. So you kind of save money by that, you know, so you could afford to look at it from a different point. But if you put everybody on the same rotation as far as when they're eligible, you know, it would certainly even all that out.
You can keep that if you wanna write me a check.
Well, guys, what are we thinking? I mean, we need to move on. What are we, so I've got 2 people saying that
Keeping the same.
keep
I would
it,
keep
just
it
leave it
same.
alone,
That's what I think.
kinda see what the revenues do.
That's what I think.
And then revisit it next year.
Okay.
What do you think?
Joe?
I think we're taking, asking people to take on a lot more responsibility by a move that we made. Yes, they requested it, or at least the higher ups above them, the judge and prosecutor and the clerk did. And changing their job description significantly, and thereby the whole process is by conservative estimates that they were talking about last night, and that was the term that I believe that Karen used on that to come up with those, that they're already seeing an increase in what they're gonna be able to generate out of it. It's fairly obvious that it's going to. One of the things that was pointed out to me, they broke down the last check from JCS of what they had, and the break it down with the defendants, or they're not parolees, what are they, probationers? And had that, they figured that same amount of money that they paid toward their fines and such, as if they had been in the court system, rather through the court system without JCS, and it would have been tremendous, because of every one of them, most of them pay in the under $100 range, more than 50 and 60 and $40 went to them.
Yes.
And this, even though adding the monitoring fee, it's not going to take away any of the fine money generated back toward the city. It'll add an extra $10 to it. So that's gonna significantly increase the amount of money that's coming through, and the people that are doing the work, I don't have a problem with
Dollars.
compensating them for that, because they're gonna be asked to do an awful lot. They're basically keeping the same number of employees down there and replacing 3 from JCS. We're asking them to do the work of three people that are no longer a part of the system. Does that make sense? They got paid by the system that was in place. Now, they weren't paid directly from us, but they took money directly from us, because somebody paid $50 and they get toward their fine, and they get 40 of it and we only get 10. Is that making sense? And that's what those are the funds they're paid.
It was brought up the other night also, what if you didn't give out raises and just hire one more person for the department? You're gonna be at less than 26, at least. I don't know what that starting number would be.
Well, not by the time you get finished with benefits. See, these numbers are just salaries.
Without the benefits.
But I mean, you start out at less than 26, based on where these people are in there.
Not when you get finished with benefits, not by the time you pay benefits and
I know, but
everything.
this doesn't have benefits in it, this 26.
Right.
So whoever
what would they
was
hire
to
in
come in
at?
would be hired in at a rate lower than that 26.
For the period of time it takes them to get certified.
But what I'm saying, Joe,
Until they
the
are
court
paid.
right now is asking for $27,000.
So
total.
26%
Actually
from that.
15.
15.
Well,
They were gonna contribute 12 of it themselves from a different fund, that administrative fund that doesn't reflect in any of our. That's something that the state legislature set up about, it was either 2, 3, or 4 years ago. And it's a certain amount that's added onto the fine that goes into that fund.
On the
And-
bail bond.
yeah.
On the bail bond fee.
And the legislature made it at their discretion, and I asked, can you use that for that, and got the answer, yes, they can. So they were gonna contribute that back toward that, to help make it work. They get what they're asking. I mean, you know, they understand that they're asking a lot, and that's why they suggested that as an idea. If this were just a raise for people to do the same thing they've been doing, I'd say check and move right on by it. But that's not what this is. Which is why the judge brought that 1.5 pages of new stuff that's gonna be added to their daily workload.
What was the amount that we were gonna save in the court changes? Or generate, that total amount?
Well, the difference,
712, right?
the
off
difference
top.
between the,
Or public defenders, I'm
And
sorry.
then from
what they
JCS,
said the projected revenues would be in that, and what was brought in last year was about 113,000. Let me look back and find it on
So
here.
with all the new with all the new responsibilities, the money saved, and then the JCS deal in consideration, does it warrant hiring another person instead of asking someone to do more money for a little bit more? If I'm over there, I'd probably say,
Well, it would
I'm
cost,
happy where I'm at, but hire somebody.
well, that's gonna cost considerably more, I would think.
It's gonna cost more than $27,000 that they're asking for.
Yeah, but what I'm asking is weighing that out against what we're gonna get back from the changes. You know,
Well, you're gonna
is it
pay-
worth considering that?
You're gonna pay the same fringes on the $27,000 that you're gonna pay on the new employee that Joe's talking about. I mean, because the $27,000 that you're gonna give the existing employees doesn't have fringe benefits attached to it yet either. So it's not all inclusive. You see what I'm saying? When you give somebody a $3,000 raise or a $4,000 raise, that $4,000 is gonna have additional fringe benefits that get tacked onto it, whether it's with the new employee or the existing employee. So you're still talking the same ballpark.
But at the same time, adding one more person in there is not necessarily gonna be taking that much of the new workload off of, that one person won't come in and do just that, and the others won't have to do that. Does that make some sense?
Depends on how it's structured, what their job responsibilities are, it could be. I mean, if that's what they're hired for, then that's what they're hired for.
But the others would have to do some.
Unless the other person can do it all.
And I understand that they've got work added to them, but it's not like they're not, I mean, they had to reconcile everything that JCS was doing anyway. I mean, they're, you know, it's not like you're throwing everything that JCS was doing in there. I mean, yeah, I agree, they've got probably some extra.
I didn't bring, I don't think I brought that with me this time.
All of us have additional jobs
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, everybody's got additional workload and
Yeah,
I guess kind of my thing is we're not asking these employees to work 5 12-hour days, and if they have to, they'll be compensated at time and a half if they have to work any overtime. I mean, they're still going to be working 8 hours. I mean,
Wasn't part of the argument for them wanting to bring probation back in-house was that the number of cases had declined, so that they had more time to do that?
That's what I
Was
was
that
just
not
asking.
one of the arguments that I heard?
biggest thing I heard was Dale talking about
The money that was saved.
wasn't about the money on that, it was about the taking ourselves out of harm's way with the lawsuits that have been piling up in other jurisdictions that have a probation company.
I'll go back to the work that I did and tell y'all what I think, and then we can do whatever. I'm pretty confident in these averages. Now I know that there are a lot of apples and oranges, but it's a pretty good sampling. Personally, finding this out, this really opened my eyes to a lot of things. I don't say we do anything, and I know they're not asking for anything for the assistant, but I say I don't really see where we do anything with the department head or the assistant. The only one that I would even consider talking about are the 3 magistrates.
Not giving them a $3,000.
No, no, I don't think we give them $3,000. Now, maybe if we give them something, then that's something that I'd be willing to talk about. Me personally. So,
They're making $12.52 an hour.
2 of the 3 are.
2 of them are.
One of them's making $13.80 an hour. My average says $14.81.
That's what you say, bring them to $14.81.
Well, I don't know that you can do all of them that way.
Those 2.
I guess what I'm saying, we need to figure out what the percentage, what the difference is. Because for some reason, the department head has opted to pay one more than the other two, and that's fine. That's, you know, I'm sure he has his reasons.
He hasn't opted to pay her that. That's where she is based on the steps. We don't give flat amounts and we don't give percentage raises.
I understand that.
Because you skew your pay plan when
But-
you do that.
But the department head requested an increase from pay grade AO3 step 4 to pay grade AO3 step 6.
Correct. But that failed. He requested a pay raise for her. That action failed.
Okay.
She is where she is in this scale because of just where she falls.
Okay, I got you.
I mean, it's not the first time that, you know, the council has been asked to consider something special there. That was, but that particular action did not pass. The second one did.
So you're talking
There you
about,
go.
you're talking about possibly bumping them up to what your average is. Maybe, which is $2.29 an hour, but you'd have to do all three of them that way. But still, that doesn't coincide with the pay system.
Mm-hmm.
I guess what my thoughts are, take the top paid right now, the one that's paid more than the other two, move her up to 1481, and then see what is the
There's roughly 3%, and it depends on
Okay.
where you are. You know, we're talking ballpark numbers now. You'd actually have to look at the pay plan and choose the step within the grade that is as close to what number you want to target, and that's where you move them, if you're gonna move them.
okay.
But I'm asking you to be cautious and not screw with the pay plan. Because if you put somebody in between, then there's no place for them, so you have to.
And I would ask that if we do that, that Eddie came back to me today and he's got one employee that's had additional work added and he's asked for her upgrade too,
Who's
so.
this?
Tommy Willie asked for
Tommy
3
Willie asked for,
employees, and I'm gonna ask for 2 of my employees.
so,
They've been doing HR ever since Nora left.
Yeah.
So that opened up another can.
I mean, if we're gonna reward employees for taking on extra responsibility,
I agree.
then
Everybody.
I want my employees to be rewarded.
I agree. I agree.
I think everybody in every department probably feels that same way.
Mm-hmm.
Mayor, I mean, how do you feel? I mean,
well, like I said, I didn't put it in there for that reason. I mean, we've got others to consider and, you know, I think we need to be fair to everybody. We've got to consider everybody that has every department head that has asked for somebody to have a raise. I think we need to consider them all instead of just a few of them.
so right now, I mean, are you telling me that your recommendation is not to do this right now? I mean,
Well, I can't recommend it unless we consider all of them. I cannot recommend that. I can't recommend picking out one department and doing that unless we consider all the requests.
Did any of the others request that we make drastic changes in the job description?
Well,
That's what this is.
some of them have made changes in the job descriptions. Some of them have had additional duties added. One in particular, the one that Eddie asked for, has had additional duties added. So,
What constitutes another step?
I think 3%.
But I mean, description wise, what gets you to that level?
Once the job description is done originally based on the duties and stuff, then you would have to have Mr. Buford's company come back in and reassess that job and redo the job description.
Right, but do you go to, does the step identification follow the raise, or does the raise follow the step?
The step is based on longevity. You're classified based on your duties and responsibilities. And he used a market curve, and we kind of plugged in at the low point of that, so we're below the market. In other words, a similar job in the market and comparable cities and so forth is where that job was valued.
So then the correct way, really the correct way to request a raise, it's not a dollar amount, it's to request this person move up to this step, and this one, this one, this one, this one, and this is the dollar
Correct.
that it equates to.
Correct. Most of the time, raises are given on one step, or more than one step. You know, in some cases, reclassifications happen. If there's been a dramatic change in the job responsibilities and duties of that person, then my recommendation, and the mayor's responsible for this, I suppose, instead of me, but my recommendation would be that and you have those jobs reevaluated by the person who drafted our pay classification plan to make sure that, you know, that it fits
And that's-
properly within that.
And that's pretty much what this suggestion was. They weren't asking to take them to a different step arbitrarily. It was to reclassify.
Which would take it to a different step. If-
Not to a
if-
different
if it-
step,
if
to a
it
different
warranted it.
grade, if it warranted it.
If it warranted it. So the extra duties may not even warrant another step up.
Well, it's not a step up. Those are
It's
two
another-
completely
another
different
grade.
things, if I understand that correct. The step is the time, the
The
grade
step
is based on the,
The grade is where the job points, where the value of the job plugs into the matrix.
right.
In other words, a job is valued based on a point system.
Which is based on the description.
It's based on the responsibility and the duties in that particular job. It's weighted and valued, and it's plugged into the matrix depending on what it
How
is.
about this? How about this then? Since that is gonna be significant, that I believe to be significant, whether it ends up being that way from the other, is let's reclassify the thing and go through the process she was talking about and go with what
Well,
the market plan.
The way I see it, that's the only thing you can do with a system that you're using. You have
Right.
to follow the system.
That's what I'm saying. Follow the system and see where it leads. If it says they don't deserve a different grade, then they don't deserve a different grade. If they do, they do.
That's fair across the board for everybody requesting a reevaluation.
Yeah.
Instead of just us
Now, my
deciding.
question is, how you gonna pay for it when
Yeah.
when he comes back and recommends that everybody get stepped
Well,
up?
in this case, the same way we would if we approved it now. With,
I mean, we got what, $5,000 in the budget to play with? Now, you're talking about a bunch of money. So, you know, it's y'all's budget, so y'all have got it to consider, so.
Guys, I don't think we put it in the budget right now. Of course, this is something we can change throughout the course of the year.
Yep, it can
Whenever
be
we want
changed
to.
I think that's
anytime.
what I just suggested,
Yeah.
is that we have those, the pay grade reevaluated with the new job description and
I say right now, as far
and
as
deal with it when that.
as far as budget talks are concerned, I think we leave it alone.
Now, what's the cost of having the,
I don't have a clue at this point.
It was
in
about
time.
$100,000 before, I think.
I mean, but that's to do everything and everybody.
I think he charged us right at $1,000 for the captains. For redoing.
If you
three
go
job
back and
descriptions.
reevaluate everybody, it's gonna be the same thing, cause he's gonna go back and look at everybody again, so.
Well, that's where you have to, that's where your department heads have discretion. Not everybody needs to be reevaluated. I mean, if you know this is what you're doing based on your job description, then you're fulfilling it.
So you're gonna pick and choose who needs a raise, I mean, who,
No, but you pick and choose who needs to be reevaluated. If I'm doing my job based on what my description is, then what am I getting reevaluated for? I shouldn't be.
See, in my
Same
department,
thing as a merit. Instead of a merit raise, you're
And
just
what she
giving
was talking
reevaluation.
about, the HR duties, that makes total and complete sense. Now, as I understand it in the budget, some of that will not become permanent, that y'all have it in the budget for 6 months for the HR person? Is that what I heard Karen say the other day?
No, she said that we didn't put the salary in there because we're already 3 months in, and it's probably gonna be 6 months into the budget before we get this person hired.
Right.
So we just put in the budget a half-year salary.
Right, that's what I
Is that
just
what you were
said.
saying? Okay.
So some of those extra duties that they're doing will go away according to the budget when we get that person
But
hired.
they've been doing those
I
since Laura
understand.
left
I'm not-
without
I'm not-
compensation.
For tonight, guys, I say we move on. We can like I said, we can change salaries at any time throughout the course of the year. If we see that we need to, but right now, the way it stands, I don't know that we put anything, this is Rocky, but I don't know that we put anything in the budget right now, for any department, not just court, for any department as far as raises go. That okay? Okay. As far as that goes, I think that wraps us up with departments, unless y'all had anything else.
I think there's a change with civil service.
Oh, yeah, we gotta change. Yeah, you're in the,
I thought
yeah,
we'd
the
already,
Civil Service Board Department.
well, I thought we'd already done that.
Well, we did, but if we, they've asked for $6 more thousand, so that's not in the budget, so.
We got, I don't see how we can get out
Well,
of it.
that's what I'm saying, you gotta go back and put that,
Or I thought we did that the other night.
no.
Okay.
I don't
We
think
were waiting
Karen-
on the
I don't think
questions.
Karen redid any worksheets.
The administrator, the Civil Service Board has asked for $500 a month additional, so they total $6,000.
They've raised him to 18,000 a year.
Which is gonna put, that's gonna put us about, what, $5,000 in the red,
What's your surplus?
according to the numbers that we've got right now.
What page is that on?
That's 7 of 20.
Okay.
We're gonna finish up departments tonight, cause I did have some things.
Oh, well, yeah, I didn't know, I wrote everything, I thought I wrote everything down that we had to discuss, that we had
No,
left
that
about
was
departments.
after I got to looking, before I got to looking at some other things.
Okay. What you got?
It was mentioned the other night on revenues,
Revenues?
on 31,300,
Okay.
that fiscal year, somewhere in there, I had $7,500. Karen, or somebody told me that should have been more accurate, 7,500 for the budget amount instead of 5,000. Somebody remember where I got that number? 31,300.
What's the name?
Financial institution.
Bank excise tax, that's one of those things that you can't predict what it is. 1 month, one year it will be really high and then it'll go away completely, so we just kinda plug in the number that's what we received last year. I think we got $7,500. Somewhere in the middle, she just kinda pulled a number on that one, there's no rhyme or reason to it.
She figured she had or they had 5,000 in there.
There's
Somewhere the-
7,500 in mine.
Oh, well,
Yeah, that's what I've got too.
alright, well, this one had 5,000.
Yours?
What's the date on that one?
Oh, that's not the one that we were all working from.
This is what I've been working on.
Mine has
So that's
75.
supposed to be
I don't have
7,500.
That was probably before,
Does that have 11.3 at the bottom? You don't have a date at the bottom?
he has a spreadsheet, he has the
Well,
one with the 3-year average on it.
So it's been updated to 7,500, Joe.
Alright, so on the 31,502,
Tell me the number of
add all the way up below.
it, okay?
We brought in 83. We brought in 83. And bringing the 3-year average to 77, yet we're gonna budget 69. I'm in favor of moving this up from 69 to, probably about 75. As far as being budgeted goes.
Okay. Explain what that is. That would be the automobile sales,
It's the ad valorem tax on automobiles.
okay. Oh, okay, I got you. Oh, okay. Okay.
Now, I'm just looking at numbers. All this is a numbers game anyway, till that you get down to the end of the year and you find out whether you're sinking or swimming. But looking at the numbers, I'd be in favor of moving that up to 75,000.
What'd you say 3-year average was, 77?
779, roughly 78.
And it was 83,666, that's,
And we picked
That's
up new
unaudited.
business.
Yeah.
That's an unaudited number, so that number will change depending on the adjusting entries and how much of it reflects back to when. So these unaudited numbers are not
Concrete.
final numbers. Just remember that there may be some adjustments to them up or down.
So that's my recommendation on that one.
I'll go with that.
On 31,600, the local gasoline tax.
31,600. 31,600?
Yeah.
Go down just a little.
Okay, I see.
31,600, we brought in 177. 3-year average is 180, but we're budgeting 150.
I got 162.
162.
That changed to 162.
What number were you looking at?
He's got an old spreadsheet.
No, I mean, what were you
yeah.
where were you thinking of going to?
Again, I was looking at about 170,
And what'd you say the 3-year average was?
180.
that would be +8,
We budgeted 170 last year.
And we brought in 177.
unaudited.
I told Karen to be conservative on this. I didn't, you know, we can do anything with it y'all want to, but now we were conservative, so, you know.
So you think 170
I
on
think
that?
170.
All right. And you just remember that that's,
That was my idea.
well, yeah, when we don't get that, when it don't get there.
That's all. But we've been flush for 2 years in spite of where we started out at coming into this thing, so I think we've
And
been.
the average is
And we
been
kinda-
about
we kinda-
10,000 above what you are wanting to put in.
We kinda went back and looked at 5-year averages on a lot of this stuff and the trend going up, so it's not,
Right, now, and then you go down to 31,802 lodging tax. We budgeted 160 last year, we brought in 248. We're gonna budget 175 this time.
True.
Now, can I say this? As far as hotels go, we had a boom this year with that pipeline project being in town. There is a boom. Probably.
It's done, that's why we made phone calls on that one.
Do what?
Lodging tax, we made phone calls on that one to find out when the project was over and when they were, you know, that kind of stuff. I remember that one because we did the same thing that day, we were looking at the numbers. Remember when we called to find out when the project was finished, latex?
yeah, yeah.
Circumstances.
So what are you saying?
I think the circumstances that brought in the boom are not,
Not likely to extend into next year to the.
Oh,
to the-
okay. I thought you were saying that didn't have anything to do with that number. I was
No,
gonna say,
no,
you
no,
think
I
you're
was saying-
crazy.
When,
It
because
had
I'm sitting here
everything to
trying
do
to
with that
remember.
Well, that
what
was my point.
No,
That was my point, was that we had a boom that is probably not to be expected this year. Now, I'll go with you on the other two, Joe, but I'm gonna have to stay where we are. I'm gonna have to say we should stay where we are on this one.
Now, there's a 3-year average of 135 before we went up on the lodging tax,
Right.
which was what, 70,000?
I'm just saying don't put it at 250 because you're probably not gonna hit it unless we have the magnitude of latex.
Well, no, I mean, the
And I don't
number I had in
predict
mind
that.
was 185 anyway.
You had 185.
This is 175.
But if we estimated going up $70,000 on top of the 3-year average, that puts us at 205. Just my thoughts.
you wanna put it where?
I was thinking 185. I mean, 185 on 248 this year if we don't have a boom, but you never know when we're gonna have another hailstorm, or who knows what. Unless y'all wanna pick a different number, keep the same number.
Mm,
It was just one of the things I highlighted when I was looking at it.
You said the 3-year average was what?
135.
What number
Before
was that?
that.
Inflation tax.
Remember we
That
had,
was before the
Which
increase.
number?
before the increase.
82.
And I think we had average
41.
estimate of 75 after the increase, 70,000 after the increase. So we allocated half of that, remember? with that
But it's
half
hard to
of it.
say how that's gonna shake out because of the circumstances from this year.
But that's why I didn't go up to 248 that we brought in. I just said 185.
That's 10,000 more than we projected, or that they projected.
All right, give me some thoughts, guys.
It's only 10,000 more.
Joe's requesting 185 from 175.
It's
Thoughts?
just 10,000 more. You gotta project for that 248.
Tom?
We got,
248
yeah,
was
also,
because of all the
you know,
construction
we've-
workers.
we've got some
This
more,
year.
we've got some more
But
industries that are
that's up to
expanding
about
this year too. They've got to
10,000.
stay somewhere when they get here.
Joe, what if we split it with you? What if we went 180?
That's fine with me. I'm just saying, I think we could probably go up on that, whatever we can agree. to
What
go
y'all
up
think
to.
about 180?
Sounds good.
I don't think it'll be a detrimental thing if,
All right. All right, 180.
Um, Contribute on 36-107 police department contributions. Leave that at 5.
36,107, okay. Do it now?
So far.
Leave that at 5,
We talked the other day about
making it 34. So leave that at 5.
So we're not getting the carnival money anymore.
and that's a good bit of what that was. That's why we took it the other night down
To 34.
34.
Is it 34? Mine says 5.
We
That's
changed
what
it.
we adjusted that because of the carnival, cause that's going directly to the
it's
Do
Board of
any of you have-
Education for their,
Do any of you have
That
one that's
training.
marked up from the other night?
Mine is.
Can I get with you? Because the one Karen gave me apparently is original.
yeah, mine is at 5. What
We
does it
marked
take
up
it
in
to?
time with me.
35?
34 was what we talked about the other night because
Trish, there really wasn't that much. Now that, as far as the departments go, we didn't really have anything. We had questions, but we didn't change numbers.
Okay, if you don't mind, if you'll spend just a few minutes with me,
Yeah.
or if you have notes, then I'll just make a copy of yours.
So we're fine leaving that at 34 then?
I think so, Joe. Let's,
Alright, so then I got, under EI department, 41,580.
4-3.
41,580.
Oh, sorry, I'm sorry. Professional fees. Okay.
What, I think my question is, what were those fees?
All right,
We're $13,000 over.
isn't that special master?
Yeah, that's the special
No.
master, isn't it?
no, that, the 10, wait a minute.
'Cause that's 26, our average is 18. Last year was 16,000. So we're requesting 25.6, why?
All right.
That may be a special master.
That's-
Yeah, 10 of it was, we had talked about upgrading the strategic plan
No,
and then,
that's
That's
not in
somewhere
that.
else.
Oh,
I think that's gonna be your special master. I'm not, I don't know.
Well,
I don't
I
have a
thought
clue.
that's what you said the other day, and we looked at it.
That's what I've got written down.
you got
Right.
special
I've got
master?
special master.
Okay,
13,
Is the reason for the
13
increase.
something, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah,
13.6,
okay,
isn't it?
so that's where we, okay,
13.6 plus 12 is 25.6. And they taught me that at Dayton.
Are y'all ready to
Not
put
much
that
more
on,
than that.
have y'all
Go Tigers.
added that to the agenda? Have y'all already done that, or has,
No,
Is it on the next agenda?
No, Wynn is going to get back with us.
No, he's working on
He's,
it.
yeah, he's going through and looking at, he has not looked at line item by line item. What he's going and doing is looking at line item of what she did. She, yeah.
He didn't have an
What-
accounting when he came, complete accounting of all of it, when he came to us the other day.
He was confident it was a good number, but he wanted to look at the line item and see what she did.
Before he responds to just accept it.
Alright, so we're sure that's what Karen said special master was in, right?
Yeah, oh
I
yeah.
didn't have-
I wouldn't have written it down
I
there.
didn't have that note. I remember us talking about it, but I didn't have it written.
Well, I
out.
mean, and it makes sense, Joe. I mean, the request was 12,000.
Yeah,
The
but-
budget's 25,600. That's 13,600.
But I didn't know that.
Okay.
I didn't know where that was going to.
All right.
All right, now where did we put the,
I think that's under,
okay, huh,
I think it's under planning.
The strategic plan is under the planning.
okay.
So, alright, the next thing I had was the CSB expenses.
All right.
The very first one, 41,090.
That's their meetings, they get $300,
So we're gonna-
$400 per person.
So that's gonna remain the same then.
Right.
Yeah, we gotta leave that for now.
Alright, alright.
We gotta leave that.
Check by that.
So the 3 probably needs to go up. The 3,000 is based on $300, 10 meetings. And that's
Do you-
not the case.
Do they usually meet once a month? I know there are average. I know there are times they meet more than once a month.
What is it on the spreadsheet?
What did we spend?
Yeah.
4,100.
No, not just
The
that 1
average.
year, I'm talking about like.
Oh, the 3-year
years
average is
past.
22.33. How you get $33, I don't know, but 22.33.
Cause one of them, somebody missed something, I guess, I don't know. So last year was more of the aberration.
Do we wanna figure 300 a month for 3,600? Because I mean, I know there are some months they might not meet, but there are some months they meet more than once. And if they're all there, that's 300.
Yeah, we just paid them for how many meetings?
That's what I would
13
like.
13 meetings, I think.
That's what I would like to see. I would like to see 3,600. And then we need to come down to administrative fee. Remember, and add that $6,000. Take it up to 18.
18.
So $6,600.
Correct.
Okay.
All right.
Next thing I had is police department.
All right.
42,501.
All right.
Travel and training. We spent 11,100. 3-year average is 88, but we're requesting 14,000. You talked to Chief when he turned these numbers in, I guess. Is he planning on something more so than last year to go up to 14,000 on budget? Or were you just being conservative again?
What do you mean to go up to 14,000?
Well, we spent 11,100.
But he budgeted 17 last year.
Yeah, I know, that's what he budgeted, but I'm looking at what we spent. You know, I know about what all we approved last year. We're looking at the same thing or more. Did he give you any sort of indication?
On travel and training,
Yeah.
yeah, he wanted to increase that, and I'm trying to think what we talked about.
And police officers are required to have some.
What's the number?
hours of training per year,
42,501.
travel training, conference, field education.
And when I look at this, I'm just looking for nickels and dimes, and if it turns out to be where we only spend 5 seconds discussing it, then that's fine with me. But I'm looking at everything.
I'm
Yeah,
not,
that's not that much difference.
I don't really want to move it.
Right? So then on 2 lines down on the dues, we spent $795. We've been budgeting $1,000. The 3-year average is $1,037, but we're going to budget $2,300.
Do you have
Yeah, but
His
that's
request.
not, that wasn't on there, I don't think that.
So in that case, I was looking at dropping that back down to the 1,000 that we had budgeted for the 3 years prior. That we never even met. Or barely met. We had 955, 918, and 1238. All 3 of those years on the $1,000 budgets. And this year we're gonna budget 2,300. I say move that back to 1,000.
Is that the server? Or is there something that covers that somewhere else?
Yeah.
Well, the server is only $100. Are you talking
No,
about for
his-
the body cameras?
I'm
Oh,
talking
okay.
about the video server that we bought,
Oh, okay.
and the maintenance, I don't know. I'm just struggling to find things in my mind that would warrant an increase that we've added.
Well,
We
that's-
added the video server, which requires additional support,
That's the kind of number that kind of jumps out at you as
but remember
there
when
should
we-
be a reason that why it went up, and I'm pretty sure there is.
Well,
We
that's
just don't
why
know
I
what it
highlighted.
is.
But
That's
when we
what
bought the
I did
video
that.
server, remember all that totals like $29,000 for the upgrades that we had to do, and the video
Yeah.
server was about, what, 13,000 on top of that? And then there were some software subscriptions that went along with it.
Right, that's what
But
I'm
I'm not
saying.
sure without his information what that is.
Where did you put the cameras on public equipment?
That's just gonna be capital.
I don't see any place else where that kind of jumps out at you as,
I'm thinking that's a subscription for
right, that's what I'm saying. I
Yeah,
don't see
well-
it where it would,
that software for the video server. That's what I'm thinking that is.
There's also a cost for Panasonic to remote in and complete their portion of software install. Rico estimates this to be $1,000 or less.
Is that for the cameras or is that for the server itself, the video server?
That's for the 1 year service for 10 machines, 2 years. Maintenance agreements for 10.
You need me to say?
No.
Okay.
Dell PowerEdge R320 server with 3 years pro support, arbitrator specifications, quantum.
Is that
I'll have
his,
to get with him, I don't know.
is that his request for the video server?
Yes.
Okay, that's what this is, then I'm thinking. It's about the right number.
Mhm. Plus the service agreements.
right.
27.
That's about the right amount from 12, adding that 1,000 to it, make it 23, so that makes,
So
There's nothing else.
that's video servers.
I'm thinking it's the car video the video server for the cars, so that they could download and everything. And Rico, they had to go through the provider to get the support and everything for it. Rico will take care of it once all that expires, but they have to have service through, they have to maintain service through the provider.
Okay.
And Panasonic or whoever the company is that provides that equipment, the arbitrator and all that, they had to buy support from them to keep it ongoing. And it seems to me like it was about $1,000 or more
Alright. So,
for the, and we bought it for 2 years.
are you satisfied with that, Joe, or?
That's what that's for, then
Okay.
check,
Alright.
I just look for things and that was.
I'm thinking that's what it is, but I can't tell you for
I
sure.
think you're right, I think that's what it is.
If it's not under data processing equipment,
Alright.
well, there's an increase in data processing too.
But the data processing was, like I said, that was,
But there's an increase in the data processing
Yeah,
in
on the back
addition to.
page.
you mark 44 and
Level
02,
Huh? 40 what?
gas, water, electric,
44,002.
yeah.
Y'all don't mess with the
I didn't.
utilities.
I didn't have that.
I'm not, I'm just saying that I was wanting to ask what the prior years were.
But don't mess with utilities, the reason being, when we did the train contract,
Mhm.
we have to continue budgeting because the savings are what pay for that debt, so don't,
I understand, I'm just asking.
Three-year average was 35.6.
just don't take my money from there.
I
don't
didn't,
really
I'm just
pay the
asking the
debt.
question, please.
Alright, Metro Jail, 45,701 is a traffic control expense. 20,000 budgeted. 3-year average is 14. What is traffic control expense?
It's on the street markets.
And I think we put a
There's
little bit more,
there's a bunch
we
of stuff
put-
that's gotta be done
we
this
put a little
year.
bit more in there because one,
Actually, it's the same amount that's been budgeted, but that's
we're gonna have
a
to,
bit more than.
if one of them goes out, I think the control part of it's like $5,000.
And there's a bunch that have to be worked on, I know that for a fact.
Street signs, traffic signs, it's, stop signs, that kind of thing, it's the utilities for the lights, the traffic control.
So we're gonna leave that like it is then?
Probably
Yes.
so.
Alright, so the next one I had was, the one I had to end up being cameras, I don't know what that
Yeah.
was.
Okay?
Fire department,
5 is cameras.
yeah. Fire department, 42,501, travel and training. 6,500 budget. Their 3-year average 27.92. However, we did spend 5,000 last year.
I'm not sure what the expense is on the trailer
Fire safety.
that they do, but they're using it quite extensively.
And they go pay,
That comes from
another
that
city.
budget.
Any reason to knock that down any?
I wouldn't say. I
No,
wouldn't think
because
so.
we got some new guys, we're gonna have to do some training.
Training.
Well, the biggest thing to me is that Matt goes out of his way to bring things here and take advantage of other things that are very close by that have little to no cost to them.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that needs to be greatly encouraged.
I
He's
agree.
also gonna try to
That,
start training.
that, and he's concentrating more on the things that give them specific training that matters to their certification and thereby our, what do they call it, rating?
ISO.
ISO, I just went blank there for a minute, yeah.
Alright, next
So-
one, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Next is 43,002, auto tires and service. Well, the budget 4,500,
You coming in the fire department?
yeah,
What's the number?
43,002, the budget 4,500. 3-year average is 16. Last year we spent 55, but in years before that was 13, $3,567. If this is for tires and service, then shouldn't we have spent a lot of money this last year that we're not gonna have to spend this year? I mean, you don't replace tires every
Well,
year.
and I think,
Those
and
$5,000.
I may be wrong, but that ladder, the platform truck, I think those tires are to the point where they're gonna have to be replaced, and
I mean,
those
that's,
tires
that's.
I think it's gonna be
They're in the-
$7,000
they're in the
right there to
classification
replace
of
those
not
But I mean,
cheap.
But I think he told me that those tires are gonna have to be replaced this year.
So this
because
is,
They're aged out, huh?
this is accurate, not just a
Yeah, that's,
conservative
yeah,
estimate.
no, it's not no,
Okay.
it's accurate, it's pretty close. It's an estimate, but now it's,
The next one was 42,514.
In the fire department?
No, street department.
Okay.
Beautification expense. What is that?
what number? 42,514.
42,514. What is our beautification expense?
That one Willie don't have any control, that's, what did we talk about on that? He does, I think, don't he cut the grass up around the Welcome to Sylacauga things and
Cemetery,
Cemetery,
downtown.
yeah. I mean, that's stuff that he don't have any, no, we don't need to mess with that, I don't think. It's not but it's what he does,
It's the trash bags.
For
and
the-
all that.
yeah.
All right, well, while we're on this, can we get those crepe myrtles and all that down Broadway added to his detail? Cause right now, they don't do that. He said get with Beautification Council. Beautification Council doesn't do that either. So nobody's doing them, which is why it looked like a forest until recently.
Yeah,
Well,
he
they
can
had-
do them, but they're not, they're,
I know Bill went out and did some work on it.
Well, they have done that the last 4 or 5 months. I'm not saying they do it every month, but they have taken care of a good bit of that.
But somebody on a regular basis.
They've been pretty regular with
you
it.
talk about cutting the weeds out of
Yeah.
the ones in
And
front of
trimming the crepe
ones
myrtles
behind.
and taking care of the in
From
front
From
on
Atkinson
Broadway.
down to the track, to Vicious Cycles was atrocious for
Mhm.
quite a while. And when I asked what's going on, the street department doesn't do it, Beautification Council does. Beautification Council says, well,
The street department did it.
Bill has been volunteering his own time, but we don't do that either. That's what Jim Heidel told me. So
They have been.
that's just separate from this. If somebody could get designated to do that, then.
Number one, they have been doing it of late, and as someone who wanders in and out of all those shops down here on a very regular basis, I haven't been fussed at about that since they started, back late spring, early summer. But at the same time, one of the things that we have discussed is putting as part of the new garbage contract specs is to take the cans, the dumpsters behind both sides of these and go back to the way it was when we first got out of the garbage business, and those be bid by the city and divided up with a, kind of like we do the residential, with a little bit more than what we pay for them, and assign it based on size and type of business, along with a little bit more to take care of, to create the funds to take care of not only the crepe myrtle places and everything, but the islands in the back, because it had been a project for the Beautification Council for years, but I'm not sure if you've been to too many of their meetings. Most of them are getting on up in years, and when my brother is the young whippersnapper in the bunch, then there's a problem and it needs to be addressed, and that's one way we can create the funding
Well,
directly from the people who benefit from it.
well, down on the south end of the tracks has looked considerably different than the north end of the tracks right through there.
Okay.
So much so that I had to go get somebody on it about a month ago, right before the race.
Alright.
So
Let's-
anyway, that's what.
Let's move on
Right.
from this. We can
So,
discuss that later. Let's get back on this budget.
We got a lot of bridge inspections to do too. 42.5. All right.
Part of them are done one year, part of them are done another year.
Which
This
one?
is a year, I think, for all of them.
Strike on 45008.
I know Eddie said we've gotta do some
We gotta
striping.
do some street striping.
Do we know how do you come up with that 3,300? Is it are there
That's
projects
probably
included?
low.
That's very low from what Eddie
Yeah.
said. He said there was about,
It's gonna probably cost
$5
us,
a mile or something.
it's gonna cost us, what, probably $70,000,
I
$75,000.
think, I think that's what he said.
There,
And, we didn't put it in the budget, cause there just wasn't,
Hasn't he
Now,
talked to
what-
y'all a couple of times about that?
we talked
Yeah,
about
I
doing the
thought you said
pavement
100,000.
assessment and then doing some streets, so I would assume that we're gonna probably do all that at one time.
Yeah.
He also
That'll
said
be part of our,
Calvert did some work
So-
before.
and
He
you
was
can
gonna
get
the
a
state to do it. I
discounted,
think that it was roughly $100,000, but
you can get a discount if they're either through the state or the county, if they're in town doing that same thing. Now, the window of opportunity we had when the county had them
Yeah, it's gone.
So
is gone.
do
But
we
it's
need to go up?
significantly less when they don't have to bring the equipment in to do it, and they're already in town, they just hang a left instead of a right.
That's right. That's right.
So we just leave that like it is.
Leave it like
until-
it is and wait until the
Yeah.
project starts.
All right. Street sign, 45015 for $4,000. Our 3-year average is 1,133.
that's where y'all approved the thing out on the highway, when y'all put,
The
Welcome
welcome to
to Sylacauga.
Sylacauga sign.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. sidewalk
You
improvements.
pass all this stuff and then don't even remember it.
Well, I don't know where it's listed on this thing. You need applicants to read these things. 46001 sidewalk improvement.
They've been pretty busy of late getting,
Well, I mean, we spent, unaudited, we spent almost $5,000 last year.
Yeah.
and there were some necessary ones and more to go, so.
And I want to, I'd like to have a little bit more than that. Of course, I know we can't put it in this budget, but I've been talking to a contractor that does a lot of sidewalk repair, and, he does it, I mean, it's pretty cheap the way he does it. He shaves down the
bad part.
the bad part and makes it smooth and smooths it out, so.
Well,
They
that
added some
was-
money in revenue.
Huh?
They added some money to revenue.
My question was.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we've already spent it too.
Yeah, they probably,
What's your question, Joe?
Okay, my question was, I know the few of them that I've had repaired out there through the street department. We could probably spend another 5,000 this year. I was looking at that one as being low.
well, yeah, and I'd like to put some more money in there, because
I mean, that's-
Willie's been doing a lot on the sidewalks, and, I mean, you notice new sidewalks everywhere you go, but
Can we take that up to 5?
I'd like to take it up a little more than that if we could, but, yeah, I mean, 5 would be
Let's
good.
start,
one is that?
let's start with 5, taking it up to 5,000.
Where's that? What line is that?
46001.
Yeah, I see it now.
Let's take it up to 5,000.
All
All
right.
right?
The next thing was, are we gonna go with the strategic plan update for $10,000? I know it's in here, but I don't.
So you don't have anything for the shop department?
What's
Okay.
can I ask a question? What is the 34,000 in there for office and other equipment?
Where?
The street department?
Mm-hmm.
What line is it? Oh,
It's right at the bottom of the capital. There's 34,000 in there.
Office and other equipment? Is that the tractor?
It's gotta be,
I thought that
33.5.
was a tractor.
That is the tractor,
Yeah.
that's what I've got noted.
yeah.
It's time to keep it out of the office.
Sometimes grass grows in there, man.
I think it
All right, so go over to planning. We're gonna do $10,000 for the update on strategic plan. We discussed it, but
Well, it's in there.
are we gonna keep that? Are
Yeah, I
good
think we
with that?
need to.
Versus the other note that you had on here about,
Now, explain that a little bit more. You said something about if we spent 10,000, we could
Well,
be
I met,
eligible
It's
for
an ACE
something.
program.
met with Joe Sumners from Auburn, and we talked about the ACE grant, which I think, what is that ACE grant, Trish, 25,000 or something, maybe a little more than that. But we talked about getting him to come in and start us on the strategic, and, then just kinda, that would help us get the ACE grant if we're already working on the strategic plan, then that would show that, or vice versa, you know, we could be working on the comprehensive and ask for money to.
but we're not wasting $10,000 on that when it should be going into the total comprehensive workup, right?
No, we're not wasting it, no.
Well,
But now
as
that
much as I'd like to see us concentrate on a combination of strategic and comprehensive plan, I'm not sure that's gonna do more than something in name only, be a cookie cutter thing that's not really a guide to take us forward. Whereas, if you look at other entities in our midst, like our Board of Education, Utilities Board, Library, other folks that say they have strategic plans and they follow that strategic plan is just that. It's a strategic plan that guides this entire process, priorities. And I'm not sure if that would go a long way toward it, but I don't wanna do something that's just gonna look pretty and sit on a shelf and collect dust. That's a waste of $10,000, but if it's gonna get it done, then I'm all for it, but I have my doubts as to whether that's gonna make a dent in what needs to be done.
Well, let's leave it in there, and look, guys, just cause it's in the budget don't mean we have to spend it. So let's leave it in there, and let's find out some more information about this ACE grant.
What I thought I'd do maybe is get him up here.
That'd be great,
to
get him in a
talk
work
to y'all.
session, yeah. So, but I think let's leave it in there.
No, I just don't want it to be a fill in the blank thing.
Yeah, I hear you.
I want it to be something
that
that's
way,
a usable tool
Like I
going
said,
forward.
just cause it's in the budget don't mean we have to spend it. If it doesn't pan out to what it needs to be, we can put that money towards something else.
Now, on that same page, one of the things that we had discussed and we didn't say anything about, but we have already approved the publication for the, subdivision regulations, and they're just about done with that. They did not this month set a public hearing for it, but, probably will at the December meeting. And that means that when they do that, that means it's gonna have to be published, and we've got nothing down here. I forget the amount that we approved where they had put forth put the pencil and the calculator together. Do you remember when we approved that?
I don't, I'm sorry.
Approve the publication.
Yeah,
Publication's only like, was 3,400, up 3,500.
it was it was 3,000 something, but it needs to be in here. If,
Planning commission expense.
yes, under the,
We got 1,800 budgeted there.
Is there a publication?
no, this was the publication ordinance expense.
Planning
So
commission expense.
I think it's charged planning commission.
That would be
42,523.
Or the one right above it.
You can put it in either one of them.
I'm
as
sure
long
we
as
put
you
it,
know
it's in the
what it
plan,
is.
it's in the planning commission, I think.
There's not enough money in there, I don't think, for it. There's only $1,800 in there.
Not there, but I think we put it,
How much do
And
you
that was the
think it was,
question, was to
Tom?
find out if it was somewhere else.
I don't think it is, unless.
For some reason, I was thinking 38. His 34 may be correct, but that was something that we've already, they've done a lot of work for nothing if we don't.
So that was unbudgeted money last year. So you're wanting to put it in the budget for this
Right,
year? Okay,
because they hadn't gotten there.
I got you.
How much?
Subdivision regs.
3,400.
If I'm not mistaken, it was 3,800. Now, and there was also another idea that you were talking about that they might be able to, I don't know if they've gotten an answer on that, but is to just run the legal saying that the whole thing is available at City Hall, or we can post it on
No, you can
PDF.
do it as inserts.
Well, look,
You can do it as
I mean, I
inserts,
know,
is
but
what
they were
she was
gonna look
talking
to see if they could cut that even more.
we're gonna have to meet again, guys. So circle that one and get us an amount, Tom, if you
Okay.
can. Just get us the real number,
I will.
so we don't have to guess. And we can come back and plug that in a
I
hurry.
think I only had
What were you saying,
3.
33?
All right.
Alright, nuisance and abatement expense, 425.21, $3,000. We spent nothing last year, but our 3-year average is 1,500.
Where's that?
42521.
What department?
Nuisance
Code,
abatement.
code department.
we were tearing down houses pretty regular, and we were spending a lot of money there.
We're not doing
But I
that.
thought we were using
have to
some
do
more
the-
money.
You have to do the advertisement for the ones that you do yourself. Anytime you cite me for my grass not being cut or my property being run down, you have to go through the publication process and all that, so that's what that
But,
cost is.
but there's $3,000 underneath that for publication.
Right.
Something different.
What number are you, where are you?
42521.
We had discussed it earlier. There was the question about whether we were being arbitrarily used as a demolition service.
Yeah, and we were.
Can we not take that 3,000 out of there and just pay what needs to be paid over the course of the year? If the average.
We need to go back and see what that was.
The average is only 1,500. I mean, we didn't even pay anything for 2 of the past 4 years.
Because you
And
had the new
it's
road
been in the
projects, so we
budget as
didn't have to do that.
3,000.
We got it reimbursed from that grant.
Let's take that 3,000 out.
Which one?
Why don't you wait until the next meeting, and let Karen or Trish or somebody get the laptop up here and look and see what we've spent that 3,000 on.
This last year, we did.
No, last year we didn't spend a dime. Your budget in 3
And 2 of the last 4 years, it hadn't been a dime.
But we had a project going over the last 2 years, and all of those publication costs were rolled into that grant. Now, I don't know what the second 3,000 is, like Doug said, that's gotta be looked at, but you will start having some additional costs now as a result of not having that ongoing grant.
If it only costs us $1,500 on average over a year, and even on the next line, that average is only $181. We're still at $1,800.
Just take a look at it. Get
All right, we got that on circle.
We
Okay.
gotta put notices in the paper, it's one of them, but I'm not sure what the other one is.
47001 is automotive inventory expense.
It's Eddie's car.
That's Eddie's car. I got car written beside that.
Then why is it expense instead of inventory? It is an
Or
inventory,
capital.
everyone,
Yeah, it's
everyone.
inventory.
Shouldn't it be
It is
under
inventory.
capital purposes?
And then
So
building
like,
custodial expenses. I think this is my last question. 45013 grounds maintenance expense. We averaged $437 a year.
I think he's asking for a tractor, is that not what that is, Doug?
Yeah.
Right, where
Ben?
now?
No, that's,
No, he's not
45013.
asking for.
that's not that, that's,
Oh, 1-3.
that's our contract for the grounds.
Yeah, there was a sprinkler system or something that Karen was talking
But
about.
that's to put that new sprinkler in, that's the grounds contract that we've got.
Okay.
So that's a valid request.
I think so, yeah.
But we're not spending it on average.
But it's a new
Unless that's something
project.
new.
Yeah.
The sprinkler is broken, and we've been waiting until they got finished completely with the building and all to go in and replace that valve.
This does that.
I think so. If not, it's up here. And this down here is, the maintenance contract that we have for the grounds. We have a guy who fertilizes and,
So we
Puts
budgeted last year, we spent $998.
we have a contract with a guy who sprays on a quarterly basis. He comes and sprays and fertilizes and all that, and we didn't have that until mid-year.
And also, we've had a couple of times, and we're gonna have to do it again, have some people go over there and trim the shrubbery at the annex over there.
So leave it in there,
Yeah.
and then I got nothing else in departments.
I'll check
Okay.
with
Thank
Gary.
you for taking the time to go over that with me.
All right, you're welcome. All right, guys,
I'll
look.
verify those two.
Not for a year.
All right, so are there any more questions other than the 2 items that I've got circled here to go back and look, and that being the subdivision publication, the real number, and then
The $3,000?
the what?
The $3,000?
Yeah. Yeah, where was it?
Code department.
Yeah, code department, that's right. Yeah, the nuisance abatement. Yeah, it was code department, nuisance abatement. Other than that, is there anything else concerning departments?
I talked to Eddie today, we can, that tree maintenance money, $10,000 of that was actually carried over from last year, we've spent that. Now, Eddie said, you know, we might could cut that a little bit, but I wouldn't wanna cut it much.
Let's wait.
All right.
Let's see what we need.
Now, I'd like to see us,
Once we get those 2 or 3 questions answered.
I don't know about you guys, but I've caught a lot of flack over, our well-trained and traveled, employees of something that get creative with some system that rewards the idea of taking as much of the training available out there and bringing it here, including the use of our library's teleconferencing system, which can, if we can bring some stuff here, we can become heroes with other communities and setting a standard to help pay for the cost of putting on some of those by inviting other people to join us through the teleconferencing system rather than just, I'm not sure how to do that, but I don't want us to be less trained, but that's something we need to, and we addressed that some last year, but we just made them come show up at the meeting and tell us what it was for, but we didn't get to the nitty gritty of that part, and we need to, anybody got any ideas of something we can do to encourage bringing as much of it in-house as we can?
Well, no, I mean, I think we need to get with the places that host it regularly and just ask what they do. So,
Well, like, when we had the training for the Planning Commission, Board of Adjustments and Appeals, and code enforcement, us if we went, and then the mayor and some folks from her office, it was available here.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that difficult. You see a need, let's work,
That's
figure
right.
out a way to bring it here rather than just, oh, here's a good one, let's go to this.
right. Okay, guys. Let's not go back to departments the next time we meet. All right, I was really hoping to be on appropriations tonight. Look at this thing, guys. Look at it. Look over it. Take it on the plane ride to Austin with you when you go. When y'all leaving, Tuesday? Take it on the plane ride. You can rate it on the plane ride, or if you got some downtime. Because Monday, the 24th, I want to get this thing knocked out. I want to be done with this thing on the 24th. Now I know I've tried to keep it to a 2-hour minimum, but the 24th we're gonna be here until it's done. We got to get it done. We can't let it go over into December. I don't want to. So what I suggest is that we finish it on the 24th. And let me ask y'all this: do we want to? And Trish, I would appreciate any input that you have on what I'm about to ask. Do we want to finish this budget, do what we need to do, finish it on the 24th, and go directly into a council meeting to pass it, into a special called meeting?
That's doable.
Well, I mean, I know that, but is that something that we want to do? I mean,
Depending on the time that it
'Cause-
takes to finish it,
well, I mean, here's the thing.
I hope.
I mean, the council meeting's not gonna take but 2 minutes. This will be the only item on the agenda.
Mhm.
It depends on, like Shannon said, what time of day you get finished. You know, you don't wanna have a called meeting at 10 o'clock at night. I wouldn't think.
But you could call a work session and have the meeting immediately following, can you? Is that,
Yeah, but
That's what I'm
If the
talking
work
about.
session runs till 10 o'clock at night, you
You know you got
probably don't wanna
questions,
have your
you're gonna have
council
questions.
meeting at 10 o'clock at night.
So I have 1,000 questions.
Well, I mean, let me ask you this though, Trish, from your office, from the city clerk's office perspective, is there any advantage to passing this before the end of November?
What is the end of November? I mean, the only advantage is that, you know, we're still gonna write the same checks. You're still gonna have to approve those contract checks like you did at the last meeting until you have the budget in place. But no, there's no advantage.
What
to
I'm
me.
asking is it advantageous for us, for you guys to get what you need to get done? Are we holding y'all up? Are we hindering y'all by waiting till the first regular council meeting?
You're not
in
my
December?
office because what we're doing, we're not writing checks at the end of the month.
Which would be
like
the
we
3rd.
were, where y'all are approving those contracts amounts based on last year's budget. Now, we're gonna need more than a day to calculate the differences and to make the adjustments to
Okay.
those checks for the, so
Well, then we'll just approve it on December 3rd then.
that would be fine with me as far as what we're doing. You've covered the raises already, so the
Yeah.
employees are not
Right.
cussing y'all behind your backs and all that kind of stuff, so. But now, the agencies that we contract with are waiting from the last day of the month to every 3 or 4 days, whatever it is,
Okay.
to get their checks.
When do y'all get back from Austin?
The
Sunday.
26th, first.
21st?
I think it's the 21st.
That's a Friday.
Sunday.
22nd. Are we coming back on
That's
Sunday?
Sunday the 23rd.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought it was the 18th.
What time are y'all getting back?
Late at night.
I don't remember that.
I mean,
It's in the afternoon.
I don't think we get back to town till about 7 o'clock. The last time I looked at it, it was based on a different schedule though. Kim sent it to you, didn't she? The Southwest change.
Did that save money?
Not
We
really.
didn't go to Dallas.
I'm gonna leave it up to y'all since y'all are just now coming back. 24th or the 25th?
Not saving money?
I
mean-
go with the 24th. I don't care what you
Yeah, no,
do.
about Southwest.
24th is a Monday, 25th is a Tuesday. Y'all tell me.
I'm good with Monday after.
I go with
Okay,
Monday.
okay, okay. All right.
Over here.
So let's set a meeting. We've already got a meeting, called meeting on the 17th. The notices that went out for that. That's our work
Monday.
session, immediately followed by a council meeting.
So they can
Y'all are
leave.
not gonna put very much on that.
It's not
agenda.
gonna be much at all.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I wouldn't do that to you. Well, I would, but not this time.
Please.
And then the 24th at 5 p.m. And I would do it earlier, but I can't. Well, y'all can start it earlier. I just won't be able to be here till about 5 on the 24th. Is 5 okay? Okay. Maybe we can notice that.
You did. You just did it by
Oh, we
camera.
adjourn.
All right, so as far as you and I talked about the airport thing, do we wanna just, do that for what y'all, Tommy came to me today and there was, some additional work that could be done to, if we take the thing up from 460,000 to 609,000. I told him I was not gonna sign it without y'all.
Well, you can't.
No, I know I can't,
You're
and
right.
that's what I'm not gonna do.
I mean, if that's something we need to put on the
So,
agenda.
but what
for
I'm
Monday,
saying-
then we need
but
to
it's-
do that.
It
But-
won't wait till then, so I'm just gonna tell him that y'all have approved the 46,000 match.
Yeah, I mean,
And that's what we're
If
gonna
it,
go
if
with.
it can't, what we can't do, I mean, that's something we've gotta do formally.
Yeah,
At the same time, as part of the same project, that's committing more than we're allowed to commit at one time with it, because it's 150, and you can only carry 3 years at one time.
this
So
is not, that's not that money, this is the other grant that y'all approved.
That's what this was.
460,
That's what this was. So-
that wasn't entitlement money that y'all approved.
It was. It
Uh,
was.
I don't think
It was the 3 years worth with what was left over from the last one when the other property got taken off of.
we don't have to match entitlement money.
We do.
It wasn't
No,
entitlement money.
it's not entitlement money. That's a grant, an FAA grant, the 460.
But anyway, I'm just gonna,
Can I ask
we'll just stick with
Yeah.
what y'all originally paid.
This benchmark that we've hired, Walter Lewis and the school thing, what's the status on that as far as timeline?
Almost past due.
Well, I mean, that's something that we haven't really talked about yet.
So you don't know where we stand as far as
No,
what he's done or anybody else has done as far as timelines
No.
to get it done?
no, I mean, we don't, there's not really anything out there yet. No, there's no.
It'll be January before long.
Yeah, it will be.
Yeah, we're February.
All right.
And well, then,
Museum's got a thing, I don't forget.
It's over.
Um,